With 10 national motocross titles, including 2 perfect seasons, and 5 national supercross titles, which makes for a grand total of 15 trophies in his closet, you cannot deny that Ricky Carmichael is indeed the GOAT. After dominating two-wheel racing, he decided to jump into NASCAR from 2008 through 2011, and he even racked up 2009's Camping World Truck Series Most Popular Driver Award. Nowadays, you'll see Ricky commentating for the AMA Monster Energy Supercross on NBC. When he's not on TV, he's teaming up with Triumph to develop a new lineup of off-road machines. Plus, you can't keep Ricky out of the saddle for too long. As part of his work with Triumph, he's discovered a love for adventure riding, to the point where he and some close friends suit up every year to find the best on- and off-road riding spots all over the United States and the world. It's unofficially known as the RC Summer Adventure Ride. This is Ricky Carmichael. I'm your host, Mark Long, and you're listening to Driven to Ride. Ricky Carmichael, you're on Driven to Ride.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on. I'm glad to be here. And yeah, man, just rolling along. This is a slower part of the time of the year for me. It's a time where I can rest, and I wouldn't say rest, but just kind of unplug a little bit, not have the daily grind and the travel. That's for sure. But yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, no, it's an honor. The pleasure's all ours, and we really appreciate you taking the time. So let's jump right into it. I know this is probably a silly question, and you probably don't get this question a lot, but let's just start from the beginning. What do people know you for? What's your claim to fame, or I guess claims to fame in your case?
Well, for people who don't know who I am, I raced motocross, supercross. That's what was my sport. I turned pro in 1997 and raced all the way through 2007. It's a 10-year span, which back then was pretty respectable. And luckily for me, I didn't have a lot of injuries. So I was at most of the races. I only missed one supercross season with a torn ACL that I had to have fixed. So in 10 years, I was at most of the races. And luckily, I won a bunch of championships, a bunch of races, and just was really fortunate. I had some great people along the way that I got hooked up with early on in my career. Whether it be sponsors or just, people that I look up to. One guy, Johnny O'Mara, he was basically my riding coach, my mentor, and he set me on the right foot early on when I started going to California and testing and stuff with Pro Circuit Kawasaki team. And one thing just led to another, man. I just, like I said, I got hooked up with great people early. And the next thing you know, I won some championships and won some races. Won 150 races throughout my career, which is 102 MX races and 48 supercross races. So that was pretty good. So I was very fortunate.
Do you have all the trophies kind of lined up in a case somewhere, or are they on display? Or
what's funny is no, I don't. They're in a storage unit about 3 miles from here. I do have my championship trophies. You can't really see them. I have some number 1 plates, but I have some championship trophies. But no, I don't. At my parents' house, their old house, we used to have them all set up, and they kind of liked it because my parents were a huge part of my success. They sacrificed a whole lot to get me to where I was, and like a lot of parents do. Not saying that my parents are any better than anyone else, but yeah, we didn't have much. So anyhow, anytime that I could give them back things like that as reminders and thank yous, I would do that. So they had a massive trophy room at their old house upstairs, and but they moved to a smaller house, and there's not any room, so it's at a storage unit. But I did keep some of my championship stuff and more special trophies.
Yeah, that's cool. So that leads me to this question. Obviously, your parents supported your motocross career and stuff. How'd you get even onto two wheels?
It's funny you asked that question. So I started out on a Trizinger, a Yamaha Trizinger 3-wheeler.
Okay.
Yeah, that was 1985. Is a blue one. Remember, sometimes you would see them at the grocery stores outside. Like you could put a quarter in and get on them, and the things would just kind of move up and down like that.
Yeah.
So I started on that, and then how I got on two wheels. Basically, the Trizingers were starting to fade out, And it was coming to a time where I was ready and getting old enough to make the transition to go to KX60. And that's basically would have been the next progression step into my motorcycle career. Is I got old enough and tall enough to have a KX60 and went on to start riding KX60s.
Nice. And it was just, you were kind of hooked on those two wheels from the start and never looked back, huh?
I never looked back. That was kind of the step forward. And I was able to learn at a very young age and recognize the sacrifice that my parents were making, like a lot of parents do. I'm not saying that my parents were any better than any other parents, but I had some God-given ability to recognize that. I liked racing. I liked winning and everything that came along with it. But it wasn't my favorite thing to do. But at the same time, I just didn't want to disappoint my parents. And I could have went to them and said, "Hey, I don't want to race anymore," because I liked playing like Little League baseball and stuff. That was really my true passion. And it came to a point, I think I was around 7 years old. And they're like, "Hey, it's got to be one or the other, because if we're going to do, whether it's baseball or motorcycles, we're going to do it 100%. And obviously I picked dirt bikes. So I don't know why I did. Maybe I thought I liked it better at the time. But yeah, so I never looked back, man. Right after that, right after I got onto two wheels and made that jump from not doing two disciplines of baseball and dirt bike riding, we were off to the races from that point on.
Yeah, literally speaking. And, like we said, got a couple, 3 trophies, a couple championships under your belt and made a heck of a career out of it. So,
yeah, thank you.
So now you're working with Triumph, right?
So when I stopped racing professionally, I got some great opportunities in the 4-wheel side of things and raced some NASCAR. I raced NASCAR Truck Series for about 2.5 years. I did like a abbreviated schedule 1 year, and then raced the series 2 years after that. And so that was a lot of fun. And then after that was over, now we're like looking at around 2012. Carrie Hart and I had the RCH race team together. So that was fun. And while I was doing that, and while Carrie and I had RCH, I was dipping my toes into the broadcast scene and doing some shows here and there up in the booth with Ralph and Jeff at the time. And then they had me doing some floor announcing, which I absolutely hated. Thank goodness I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. And so as time expired and we shut down RCH, and then things started to run dry on Suzuki, and we weren't sure where they were headed. And I had some opportunities, knew some people that I knew at Suzuki that left there and went to Triumph. And they said, "Hey, we're probably going to be developing a off-road bike, a MX SX line, enduro line, motocross bike. And man, we'd love for you to be involved." And now, this would be like 2018, 2019 when the talks were happening. So for sure, 2019. And one thing led to another. I know we keep saying that, and I'm like, absolutely. I'd love to do it. I mean, an iconic brand like Triumph, and outside of just the being part of the R&D and being part of the inception of a project like developing a motocross model bike, it was something that just happened to be perfect timing. It was something that I was interested in. I wasn't overly busy doing things. TV was keeping me busy on the weekends for supercross. I didn't have a whole lot of stuff going on in the summers. And like I said, this is something that I wanted to be a part of. I could spend the amount of time that I needed to. I'd learned so much through my professional career, riding for Suzuki, riding for Kawasaki, riding for Honda, and racing on a steel chassis, racing on an aluminum chassis, racing on a 2-stroke, racing on a 4-stroke. Just, I just hit it at the right time and had learned so much from so many great people, engineers and things like that. So I'm like, man, I would hope that I could take the knowledge that I learned all those years and pay it forward to developing this new series, or this new model that they're making. And So that was how the journey started, and that was a thought process behind it. And they believed in me. And at the same time, I was kind of dipping my toes in the sand on the adventure side of things.
Yeah.
So it was really a match. Yeah, it was really a match made in heaven. It really was and has been. Like I said, an iconic brand, Triumph Motorcycles, and the adventure stuff, dipping my toes in the sand there, and getting to explore the world and the country on adventure bikes has been a lot of fun outside of the MX SX Enduro model that we're about to hit, that you're about to see on the showroom floors here soon.
Yeah. So you debuted the Triumph just a little while ago, right? And I think I saw a video of you flying through the air on it, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I was really flying through the air. I didn't feel as comfortable as it used to feel. So we debuted the MX bike 250, and it was a lot of fun. We had the opportunity to do it at the LA Coliseum, which everyone knows how iconic of a venue that place is. From all phases, all aspects of sports, no matter what discipline you're in. I mean, the Olympics were there, for crying out loud. That's where the first supercross race was, ironically.
Wow.
And it was the final round of the inaugural season of the Super Motocross World Championship. And I had knew that it was in the works. I wasn't sure if it was the timing was going to work out. We were going to be able to pull it off, but we did. And man, was it special. And I don't think everyone thought that it was real. I'm like, well, for sure it's real. I'm not going to be sitting here promoting something that we're working hard on if it's not real. I don't have no reason to do that. So to be able to display that bike at such an iconic venue like we'd already talked about, and the event in general, it was a special moment. It was a special moment for everyone. I think for number one, the industry, to have another manufacturer coming into the game, especially on the dirt side. They have a massive showing in the adventure side and on the road side and things like that. But for motocross, supercross racing, and enduro racing, which is huge, a huge part of the market for the off-road world, it's big. It's really big. So it was special. And I'm excited for it to hit the showroom floors. I assume, and I believe it's going to be sometime early next year. I can't say that for sure. I just, from what I've heard, it's going to be sometime in Q1. So it's exciting times. I think people will like it. So we worked really, really hard. There's a lot of things that go on with developing a motorcycle, and when you make significant changes, and along the way we did, and they were for good reason. If you make a change to the chassis, whether it's the design, whether it's material, then you have to rebuild that, you have to tweak that design, and then you have to go test it. And that takes months and months and months of redesigning, retweaking, and then you go test it. Okay. And then if it's good and it meets all the approval process, it passes the approval processes through all the people, making sure we all agree that it handles the way that we want it to handle and the consumer is going to like it. Then it goes to the safety inspection part of it. It sits on a rig and it has to pass all these checks and balances. Same thing goes with the engine, so things like that just take a lot of time that I don't think people realize. And trust me, it was frustrating for me at times, because I wanted everyone to see the damn thing, because I knew it was good. But at the same time, it takes a while. And that's why it takes so long, is because of the things that I was telling you. When you make substantial changes like that, it has a process that it has to go to for good reason.
Yeah, nothing exists in a vacuum, and even just street motorcycles. I mean, it's a whole thing. I mean, like you said, there's not just the design, there's the safety and the emissions, and there's all kind of hoops to jump through. You can't just slap a bike together and call it good, unfortunately. So
yeah, and that's the thing. I think we saw it a lot with the Austrian brands. It's cool that they were getting acquiring these already existing brands, but it was more or less copy and paste, and weren't starting anything from ground up like we were doing over here at Triumph. Not to use COVID as an excuse, but we started getting going right when COVID hit. Like, we did our first test. It was right after Daytona Supercross in 2020. And we finished up on Thursday, and literally everything shut down on Saturday. Like, remember, the next race was supposed to be Indy Supercross. Our engineers here almost didn't get home. They were able to get out on Friday. Wow. Supposed to leave Saturday, so who the hell knows how long they would have been stuck here. But so that put everything behind. But the great thing about Triumph, and what's been a lot of fun, is everything is made in-house. And that is, I think that's a nice attribute to what they're able to do on this new model. And I think it's going to pay massive dividends from a racing standpoint. And what I mean by that is, if we need to tweak something or make a part and piece, we can do that. They have the ability to do that, and it can be on the motorcycle within a week or two.
Wow.
And at this level, you have to be able to move that quick. I believe like we'll be able to work fast on our feet that way, and give our riders what they need. So a lot of things to look forward to, and we're happy about.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And I'm excited to not only see it on the showroom floor, but also, see it on the races and stuff. I think that'll be super cool.
Yeah. And we got a great, we've got a great crew running not only the MXGP side with Thierry and the boys, but also over here with Bobby Hewitt. As you can imagine, he's pretty motivated. Mm-hmm. He did great over at Suzuki when he was supported by Suzuki, and then of course with the Husky team, and how all that went down. He's pretty motivated. The guy knows how to operate a race team, run a race team. He's got some great people, and as you know, we're only as good as the people we got working on this stuff. But he's respected by a lot of people, and most importantly, the riders. I mean, anybody that has ridden for Bobby, they'll tell you that they like that guy. So that's cool. When you got the trust and the owner, the manager, the team, that's huge. So a lot of process went through that, the due diligence stage of who can we have operate and run this team at Triumph America. And for me, it was hands down. There was never a question of who it needed to be.
Nice. So yeah, let's go back to COVID 2020. Is that where the RC Summer Adventure came into play, and that's how you got into adventure bikes? Or
yeah, it was actually, I think our first RC Summer ride, we weren't really promoting it that much, but I think it started maybe in 2018 or 19. Mm-hmm. We would ride out to Sturgis. So I kind of picked it up from Kerry Hart. He would always do that, get a bunch of get a massive group. One year we left Loretta's and went there. We had like 13 of us. And then Kerry kind of went his way. He was doing stuff with Indian. And so JH Leo, in case you guys don't know him, but if you're in the weeds and you follow us on Instagram or you're at the races, you pretty much know he's like my little shadow. So he's a great guy, but he kind of runs my world, does a great job. So we kept it going. And yes, what you said about, so like 2020 come along, and I knew the Triumph thing was it had already happened. We'd gotten our deal done. And so, we were going to use the Tigers, their adventure bike, the 900 and the 1200, whichever one that they wanted me to ride. I love them both for different reasons. We started doing that, the RC Summer Adventure. I personally, so we've been so many great places. The reason that we do more of them on the West Coast is because me not growing up out there, there's so much to see out there, right? So that's why we mostly gravitate towards the West Coast. The riding is so good, and it comes, that idea comes from me and the JH, and some of our other crew that we have on the ride. They often try to persuade me to look at other routes on the East Coast, but there's just so much to see out on the West Coast. And like I said, I didn't grow up there, so I like seeing new things.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's more crazy about how big the West is how varied the landscape is. I mean, you can go from forest and mountains to desert in like 3 hours or less.
I know you're exactly right. Like, and my mind escapes me on some of the routes that we've gone. But yeah, we'll be in like gnarly mountain route. And then, there's greenery because the rain on the mountains. And then, like, to your point, you get down to the mountain and then boom, it's just full blown desert, dust storm. But man, have we come across, we come across some beautiful country out there. I mean, like when we're on the ride and normally sometimes you have to cap it on the amount of guys that come, because if you get too many, just logistically, it becomes a nightmare. Not that we don't like having a lot of people on there, but it just logistically becomes a nightmare. And it seems like you're waiting a lot. But it's just fun, the conversations that we have. And I there's so many times, and I say it so much about, I could live out there, no problem, in the summer.
Yeah, it's a super cool area. I mean, and it's so big. There's so many different areas. I lived out in the West for a little while, and I tell people all the time, it's some of the most beautiful scenery I've ever seen in my life, hands down.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you're just like, oh, it can't get any better. It is. I mean, whether you're going over the mountain passes or you're in one of the valleys running next to a river, some of the windy roads there, or you get out into the open plains area like in Idaho and things of that nature. You can just see for miles. I mean, and the wildlife as well. The wildlife, it's just beautiful. It's peaceful. The smell. The temperature, for the most part, we've been very, very lucky on temperature. We've had some super hot days. We've had some cold mornings, but nothing that we couldn't handle or we're like, man, we're really miserable today. So yeah, to your point, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me to, there's a lot of prep into an adventure ride. I mean, especially because you're going for 5, 6, 7 days at a time. You're dealing with hot days, cold mornings. There's rain,
routes, and where you're going to stay. Bucket list, not even bucket list item, but checklist items. There's a lot that goes on in logistics and planning, and that is a great question. So for me, I don't do a lot of the, this is where JH gets the credit. And Ray Butts from United Motorsports, he was at Rocky Mountain for a long time. So he had ridden a bunch in the West Coast, Utah, Colorado, you name it, Idaho, all those places on the West. And so they really sit down, JH and Ray does, and come and look at routes, suggested routes. They got apps and guides online that anybody in the adventure world can go and check out. Mm-hmm. I give them a general idea, like, hey man, let's do it on the West Coast. Like we'll pick a region, and then I'll be like, hey, I'd really like to go here, or I'd really like to check this out, or hey, I'd really like to stay. For one example, we came across Darby, Montana. That's where Yellowstone is filmed. So we stumbled across this killer, these like log cabins, a small little Western town, and Yellowstone is there. Chief Joseph Ranch is right there, Dutton Ranch. And it was just awesome, dude. It's a cool little bar scene, cool little Western bar scene. We're playing darts, had a killer dinner. And then we go back to these little cabins, and they're like 4 or 5 cabins, and each cabin would sleep like 3 or 4 people. And, we would get there purposefully early that afternoon to enjoy some beverages and just hang out, because like we're talking about the scenery, you're like in this valley, there's steep mountains all alongside you. It's peaceful, but then we hang out in the afternoon, listen to some music. Normally one of our guys will bring a guitar. We're playing and singing, or I wouldn't even call it playing and singing, but having a good time. And then, at that night, we'll go down into the town there of Darby, And we'll go have a great dinner and check out a little Western bar and just enjoy it, right? And still haven't been able to get into Duck Ranch yet, unfortunately. Yeah, but it's stuff like that where I'll make suggestions and then they'll try it. And then Ray and JH will put their minds together and then find the cool mountain passes to go over to eventually get to those stops. So lots of logistics go on. Basically, the inception starts, for the following RC Summer Adventure ride. If we finish on a Friday or a Saturday, it starts, on talks on the last night of the current ride. It's like, hey, what do you guys think about next year? Where should we go? Should we go, first, what region should we go to? And, or what works good for Triumph, where, there's also things logistically where you have to think about where is easy to fly into, where there's a great Triumph dealer, or that Triumph dealer might think or might like to have us and host us for a day or come to their dealer, because we try to pay it back to them as well, because they do so much for us and provide so much for the summer ride as well as the fall ride as well. So a lot of things come into play, and that's how it starts. It's like, hey, what region we going to? I'd like to hit this. Some of like I said, the Darby, Montana, the location, that's pretty much a staple. We did not hit it this year just because our route would have taken us way too far off the path. But we've been there 2 or 3 times.
Wow. So aside from Darby, has there been any place that you've explored on your RC summer adventures that have just completely surprised you? Maybe like you thought, oh, well, we'll just pass through. It's nothing really to see here. And then you were just floored at how beautiful it was.
Oh, 100%. Great question. I believe it was, and I need to pay more attention about stuff like this. I always like, what was that? What was that pass we were on? But Beartooth Pass. And I don't know, I want to say, I don't remember where it was. It was unbelievable. I mean, the elevation was way up there, like 13,000, 12,000. But just the windy road. And Anthony Paggio at Oakley, and I grew up with Anthony. He used to take me riding when I was like 7 years old. He always joins on the ride as well. And we were hauling the mail coming down on our Tigers, dude. I mean, just going for it, full bags, the whole bit. Those bikes handle so good. But there were times where we were like, dude, we are going way too fast. We were basically racing. We were racing down this pass. But yeah, Beartooth Pass was an epic road ride. That was 1 year. And then right outside of Sun Valley, we were on this like little river road, and it was gravel, just windy gravel roads. And they were like perfectly smooth. And you could really, you could get after it. And then you could back the bikes in, like, power sliding coming into the corners, big, fast sweepers, slow sweepers. I remember that. I can't remember exactly what road it was, but yeah, it was a long river gravel road forever. That was an epic time. Most of those passes, like I said, Beartooth, and then right outside of Sun Valley. And then last year's ride, Flaming Gorge, I believe it was called.
Okay.
That was an incredible pass coming up through there. You talk about desert on one side, mountainous on the other, a massive dam. It had all kinds of landscaping that you could ever. It's like 3 or 4 different style views of landscaping. It was a massive, like huge, like divide or pass that we went over there. But yeah, Flaming Gorge is what it was called. And that was incredible. As far as towns go, Ouray, I got a new love for Ouray, that we stayed there this year on the ride. We stumbled across that because we did Engineer Pass the year before that. And I don't know how I forgot about Engineer Pass, but Ouray is a killer little Western town. Imagine like an Aspen or something like that, but just not discovered and taken over. Yeah, that's what Ouray is. And they do like ice climbing there.
Oh, wow.
So you got Engineer Pass. is just right up there. So we stumbled across that last year, and that's a cool little town. There's just so many places. And the thing is like, man, I want to go do that again, or I want to stay there. Like I said, Darby or Uray, there's so much happening there, but then there's always other places we want to go and see as well.
Yeah, well, the RC Summer Adventure Ride this year wasn't the only one that you did. You just got done with a Fall Friends Ride, right? Can we talk about that a little?
Yeah, we did a Fall Friends Ride, and I've been meaning to get up there for so long. So we went up to the UP, and I've never been to the UP. Obviously, I've been to Michigan and Wisconsin and all this, been to all the states, but never the UP.
Uh-huh.
And we went up to, we joined Jeff Stanton and Jeff Stanton Adventures there at Two Hats Ranch. And we did kind of like a tour most of the time when he hosts rides, which if you've never done it, you got to go do Jeff Stanton Adventure Ride up there and stay at Two Hats. Incredible lodge there that they have. In the fleet of Tigers that Jeff has and Triumph provides him with. It's turnkey. Basically, you fly there, and they'll pick you up, take you to the ranch, and you stay right there at Two Hats. And it's like a clover leaf. You take off from there, and you come back there every day. They got breakfast for you. They got dinner for you. Jeff hosts lunch every day, and it's some of the most incredible riding. I never realized how much dirt you could ride on while we were up there this year. We did more of a tour. We didn't do like a cloverleaf where we would take off from Two Hats and end up at Two Hats each day. Mm-hmm. We had destinations that we would go. So we left there and then went to Traverse City. Then Traverse City, we went to Mackinac Island. And then we stayed up on the very northern part of the UP. The final night. I say the second to final night, and then we ended up back at Two Hats, and it was it was a lot of fun. We had a very diverse group of riders, from pros, ex-pros to beginners. I got one guy that came with me from Tallahassee, a friend of mine that just loves riding, and he flew up and he joined us. But I totally recommend this ride, and what Jeff has been able to create there. The experience is second to none. You could bring, if you're a husband and a wife and the wife doesn't like riding, I'm telling you, she can go there and hang out at Two Hats. There's plenty to do there. It was a lot of fun. Again, we had a great group of guys, and a lot of these rides, the group that you have can make it just even that much better. The group of guys that you had. We had our friends from Australia come. They had joined us on a summer ride. They were able to make it happen.
Wow.
And come out to our Fall Friends Ride this year. And man, it was a lot of fun. We could go on and on about the riding. There were a million times on our fall ride with Stanton. The guy still hauls the mail. I was way over my zone, cutting through trees and
really
and these narrow trails. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, he doesn't always go that fast. So if you're a beginner level, novice level rider, Jeff does a fantastic job at catering to all needs and wants, and he's a great teacher. But yeah, it's a hell of a thing he's got going there, and I'm pumped for him, and I'm bummed that it took me so long to get to go experience that.
Yeah, Michigan's really a hidden gem. I'm originally from the Midwest, and you spend summers going to Wisconsin or Michigan or even the UP a little bit or whatever. It's a lot of people kind of overlook it, but it's a lot of really beautiful landscapes. It's not the West, but it doesn't have to be.
Right, you're exactly right, and see that's why I kind of like it's the same kind of like it's green and you can't see for miles and miles and miles, but to your point, like the riding is so good, and the routes that we were on and the roads that we were on, like you living out there, I had never known about how long these snowmobile trails are. I mean, there's 1,000 miles of snowmobile trails. So you get on those trails for a while, and like I said, for all levels. If you want to, you want to be on a novice trail, you go on a novice trail, which I like those.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people always think, like, just because, my history in racing motocross and supercross and the success that I had, that I want to get on these tigers and just go balls out and live life on the edge. Or I don't. I am adamant about this on all the rides. Even like when we climbed Engineer Pass, yeah, it was cool, but that was hard for me. The bikes are bigger. I'm a smaller guy. There's rocks, and like when you're on rocky terrain, it scares me. I don't like it because I'm always thinking about hurting myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I am adamant about getting back to. Sorry, I just get so amped up about talking about it, but I'm adamant about, hey, let's make these rides fun,
Mm-hmm.
not challenging, because I don't want to have to think, and I certainly don't want to hurt myself. So, and it's so easy for people to think I want to go on these gnarly rides, and I don't, and I'm the first to speak up. I'm like, yeah, this is too gnarly. We shouldn't be doing this. And quite frankly, some of the guys that we have on our ride, summer ride and fall friends ride, I don't think they would ever say, man, that was too difficult. So good on them. They play it off like it was no big deal, but it was hard for me. I'm sure it was hard for them, and that's no fun for anybody. So I really am taking into account, not only for myself, but for their best, their cause too.
Well, like you said, when you don't have to think about like the terrain right in front of you, you get to enjoy the scenery a little bit,
Exactly. I mean, everywhere that we were was awesome. Travers was awesome. Mackinac was great. Like I would have liked to. It sucks because the day when we left Traverse City and then we went to Mackinac, that day, like we got behind, like one guy got sick. And then my buddy, who is a beginner, he was riding with one of Jeff's support riders, and they fell behind. So I would like to go and spend more time there at Mackinac. Like we were crunched on time that day, unfortunately. It was a cool stop. So, but I also, because when I was up in Michigan, like when we were up in the UP this year in the ride, I didn't realize this because there's so much dirt and gravel roads you could ride on.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to go back and do that ride and just stay at Two Hats, because we're always doing destination stuff majority of the time. And the only negative I feel about destination rides is you're always freaking racing to the next stop, always. So what would be cool is like I said, go to Two Hats and do like Cloverleaf and just ride, not have our bags, just ride the motorcycles.
Just enjoy the day.
So
yeah.
We'll do that also, right? Like you just make like a Cloverleaf each day. That would be fun. Yeah, I was blown away of it up there this year about how, the riding and the trails. I mean, like I said, you want a beginner trail, which I like those. Normally they're a little bit faster, gravelly. We talked about backing it in and sliding those things. It's fun. And then if you want to go on an intermediate or expert trail, they have that as well. I was blown away at how sandy it is up there. I couldn't believe how sandy it was. That was challenging. And
I imagine you guys are probably connected like on Bluetooth and stuff. So you're probably, talking to each other and communicating. And
we got our Cardo Pack Talks. Those things are a lifesaver. And yes, I mean, we're talking, laughing, as much as they are a huge benefit for safety. And I to this day, it blows my mind of why we don't use it at a professional level.
Sure.
Stadium, Pro Motocross Championship, just a one-way talk back to where the rider can't talk, only he has a spotter from a safety perspective. I mean, these guys are pros, and I've used it with professional riders. They love it. And it has more of a safety advantage than a non-safety. Some people say, oh, it's not safe, a distraction. There's no way. It has way more safety benefits than non-safety benefits. But yes, Cardo has been a great partner of ours. So we do have great partners with Boxo as well. Boxo and Quadlock, they all make great product and have been supporters of the summer ride and now fall friends ride. But going back to the communication in the Cardos, I just always think JH takes a hell of a beating.
Does he really?
I mean, it's basically, oh yeah. I mean, honestly, we're just most of the time, and a lot of it is rightfully deserved. He asked for it most of the time with his stupid comments and just like, you're just like, did you really just say that? But yeah, we're mostly busting his chops on the whole ride and making fun of him. He starts yelling at us, and I'll never forget this one time. It was one of our first RC summer rides. It was me and Paggio and Jason Beam from Beam Designs, and we were cutting across somewhere in Utah. I mean, it was a long stretch of just like kind of open desert. And he got so mad at us. We were busting his chops about something. He was yelling at us, and he just gassed it wide open and like took off from us. We pissed him off so bad on this, but we have a lot of fun on the cardos for sure. It's definitely a nice caveat to have those for sure.
Every group of friends has one, so
they do. Hey, and it's not like we want to just bust his chops all the time, but he just says silly things. He opens the door up for silly stuff, right? And JH, God bless him, he is a dude. He's got every kind of accessory on your bike possible. Like I like accessories to a certain extent. Like I got that little Moscow, that little tank bag. Like that's all I need. He's got the backpack tank bag. Like, like to me, it gets in the way, not in a bad way. Like, again, I'm a smaller guy. The tank bag that they have that I use, a small one, is awesome. I can put my wallet in there. We're good to go. And then like our quad lock mounts are awesome. And they have the vibration dampener, so your phone don't get smoked. So I have that. I have the little charger. So I got my charger all the time. And of course, my cardo. Dude, that's about all I need. Boy, Jake, it's up there. He's got this. Pretty soon he's going to have like a satellite antenna. So I bust his chops about that stuff. But he's, every one of the groups has one. And he is that guy for sure.
You talked about it a little bit, just about like the scenery and just the relaxing kind of part of it. What makes the ADV riding so special to you? Like, because you've really dived into it, and it's not an easy thing to get into. So what makes it so special for you?
Well, and I mean this when I say this, is like, I'm fortunate, I'm spoiled, like. I get that, we fly into a destination, our stuff's ready to go. I bring my panniers with me where I go. So it's, they got the racks, all I got. I'm just plug and play. So it's relatively easy for me. So I'm spoiled in that regard. But I just love what I love, and the older that I've gotten, the more I appreciate is just sharing experiences on a motorcycle with great friends and building memories with my friends that I'll be able to take for a lifetime, and seeing the beautiful sights that this great country has to offer that I've only seen so little still to this day. So that's why I love the adventure riding is how we can, create and build great memories with great friends on motorcycles. They've done a great job, and I'm probably being partial to Triumph and the Tiger model, but the bikes are so easy to ride. They can be intimidating when you look at them and you've never ridden one, and I'm guilty of that. When I got my first Tiger, I'm like, damn, this thing is huge. Mm-hmm. But the engineering behind it, and the center of gravity, how low it is, and how nimble they are. They're not as heavy as you would think. They work really, really hard to make it as light as possible, as long as safety is still there. Those memories. Those memories is what it's about, and sharing those memories also via Instagram, and creating content and sharing those memories with our followers and the people within the industry, and giving back to our partners, like we talked about Cardo and Quad Lock and Boxo with our tool bags, our toolkit that we're able to bring along as well. And everyone that has been a part of it, that's what it's about, truly giving back, but at the same time having a good time. And again, I know, like, I'm fortunate that I'm in the position to be able to do that, and I am spoiled, and I don't take that lightly. So I appreciate everyone that maybe doesn't have the luxury of I do of just flying to a destination and just plug and play.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the hardcore adventure rider and the true enthusiast that takes the time and goes out and buys all that stuff. I appreciate them, and it just makes me respect them so much more because of the effort it takes. But it's worth it because they are, and I see why they do it. They're creating beautiful memories and things that will last them a lifetime. And another thing too, outside of that, we also use it for a test session, like when we're riding these things. And I think, being an ex-racer, I think you're always riding these, these bikes, and you're testing to a certain extent, like of things that it does well, or, hey, what if we change this? Or, hey, can you change the gearing here or the mapping here? So we use it as a little test session as well. And like, if we're on a certain trail, whether it's off-road, whether it's gravel, whether it's engineer pass, or whether it's coming down Beartooth Pass on the road, there's little things that we can take away of things that it did really good, or things that were, man, I'd like it if it could do this a little bit better. And we relay that message to Triumph, and they're very receptive of the information that we give them. So outside of that, that's why we do it.
Nice. Can you shed any light on plans for the 2024 summer ride?
Yeah, so they're tugging on me pretty hard to do the East Coast again. Maybe starting up in like Vermont.
Okay.
But I was talking to someone within the industry, and I'm thinking might want to do from Washington all the way down to California, and that. I don't even know, like, if you can ride the coast pretty much all the way down, all the way, like I said, from Washington down to and end up somewhere in LA or Santa Barbara, something like that. We'd have to figure it out. Like Malibu up north through there, and just keep on going. Santa Barbara, Monterey. I think I want to look at that. I've seen some stunning views there.
Yeah.
And if we can get 3 to 4 days out of it, like close to 1,200 miles, 1,500 miles, and somewhere between 3 to 5 days, I want to seriously look at that. That's on my radar right now. So yeah, little sneak peek. JH is probably going to lobby me to be on the East Coast, just because we haven't done a lot on the East Coast, and there's still a lot to offer there. Dude, I've wanted to do like in the Carolinas also, but that's something like easy for us that we could leave here from Tallahassee and ride our adventure bikes up there. So that's why another thing, like, I'm like, I don't really think that needs to be the summer ride. I really want to base it. I don't know. I feel like the summer ride, in my opinion, is more of a Western region type of ride. I feel like the base is too big for that ride, and we've always went out there. It doesn't feel right moving it to the East Coast, and then the fall ride should be here on the East Coast, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, thankfully it's your rides. It's not the JH Leo ride. It's the Ricky Carmichael summer ride.
No. He didn't make it. No, it's JH's ride. And that sometimes I have to remind him of, hey, JH, is this your ride or my ride? Which one are we doing? But to his credit, and Ray, those guys put in a tremendous amount of work, and I'm super thankful for them working hard as they do, because it's not easy logistically, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting, man. I mean, I'm excited to see the new bikes out on the showroom floor. I'm excited to see where you go next year for your summer ride and your fall friends ride. Is there anything else that you got going on that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, that was great. I haven't gotten to talk about my summer adventure ride and the course, my Fall Friends ride, just because we just did the first one this year. But I'm always open to suggestions as well. Like you guys, you can, hit us up on the Instagrams, or Facebook or Twitter. Give us suggestions. We're open. We're always open for whether it's the summer ride out west on the western side or the fall ride, on the East Coast, suggested routes. And also just, and I've said this a couple times, we appreciate everyone following us. And even though they're not there with us in the flesh on these rides, we hope that you guys enjoy the journey with us, even if it's via social media, because that's what it's about, is sharing those memories.
Well, thank you very much, Ricky. This has been a fantastic conversation. I appreciate your time, and hopefully our paths will cross again.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully so. And thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to Driven to Ride. Interact with us and check out full unedited conversations, photos, interviews, video interviews, plus other goodies on YouTube or Instagram at Driven to Ride Podcast. Or you can check us out at driventoridepodcast.com. And make sure you leave us a rating and review from wherever you get your podcasts, too. If you have an idea for an episode or a guest, or you want to invite us out on an adventure, email us, hello@driventoridepodcast.com. Driven to Ride is wholly owned by Flint Rock LLC, made possible with help from Matthew Miles, and written, hosted, and produced by me, Mark Long. We'll see you out there.